I'm in Denmark Street with Henry Scott-Irvine from the Save Tin Pan Alley campaign. I met Henry about a year ago when we were here the weekend that the 12 Bar Club closed its doors for the last time. A very sad occasion. So I'm going to speak to Henry here. He's going to tell us what's happening with the Save Tin Pan Alley campaign and what's happening in this vibrant heart of what was once the centre of London's or Britain's music industry. Henry, what is the state of play in Denmark Street now?
Well, we're here in a slightly blighted Denmark Street. It's 18 months since we started the Save Denmark Street campaign, and businesses appear to be intact because we've set up an agreement with Camden Council that protects the shops. So when their leases run out, most of them are rolling leases, they have to be offered new leases of 3 years. But of course the problem we have here is, can they afford to stay? And the landlords say they want to protect music in the street, but they seem to want it both ways. They want to be able to charge what they want, and they want to keep the music in the street. So it looks like Denmark Street is still thriving, the guitar shops are still here, but above the shops, all the music businesses that were here have pretty much gone. And that takes in quite a lot of music business, because people only see the fact that it's guitar shops, but you also used to have agents, managers, recording studios, guitar makers. And one of the most important things that we're now trying to champion is the fact that this was where there were at least 6 guitar makers in the street. Now there is only one in the basement at 25, Andy Gibson. We're going to try and bring guitar making back to Denmark Street and create a guitar makers school above the shops, and we're asking Sir Paul McCartney and David Gilmour from Pink Floyd and the music industry to come and support this, to fund this, to keep this as a thriving hub of music, because this was entirely music based until these landlords came in, who are also the developers. They've moved all the people above on the north side out. They've all vacated. So we need to continue to encourage, when Crossrail opens in 2018, music business to move back in.
Could you tell me a little bit about the musical heritage of Denmark Street?
Musical heritage of Denmark Street is a very important thing, because in 1911 a music publisher moved in called Lawrence Wright, and he set up the Melody Maker. It was Britain's first weekly music paper based in the street. It ran until the 1990s. It was also the home of British music publishers. Every single building in this street was a music publisher right through till 1992. That led to guitar shops opening here in the 60s and 70s, and they've been here ever since. But of course it also became home of recording studios. There were 3 particularly famous studios here. There was Regent Sounds at number 4, where the Rolling Stones recorded their very first album. Black Sabbath recorded there, Tom Jones, the Amen Corner. Further down the road you had Central Sound Studios, where the Bee Gees recorded their first album. And on this side a lot of the publishers had their own studios. So you had Heath Prowse Music had their own studios, Denmark Street Studios, Tin Pan Alley Studios. So, you know, it was a home of recording studios too. A thriving hub of music. And this is what we really do want to continue to protect. It isn't just about the guitar shops. So here we are at the back of what was Denmark Place. And as you can see, the bulk of it has been demolished, which is also the rear of Denmark Street, north side. So many of the guitar shops have lost 2/3 or 50% in some cases of the back of their shops, having been offered upstairs. But it's a huge space that's being created with something called the Now Building, that's going to have huge cinema screens as a form of new internet where people can buy and sell things in what is essentially a vast shopping mall.
What was in Denmark Place before?
Denmark Place was essentially small advertising agencies, and most notably enterprise rehearsal studios for bands. there was space for up to 30 bands to be able to rehearse and practice making music. So it was unique in that it was the only one in the West End of its kind where musicians could come and rehearse. And of course, because there was the 12 Bar Club on the other side of it, a lot of them got gigs there and at the Alley Cat over the road. And this ancient alleyway that went back to the 17th century, one of London's oldest back alleyways, they say a grubby back alleyway where drugs were taken. Well, drug taking will always happen in the West End. So what we're going to have now is a shopping mall, probably with men in hard hats and Alsatian dogs patrolling it at night time in what will be corporate hell. I think if we lost Denmark Street, it's a metaphor. It would be like the music industry is diminished because of the internet. If this street goes, it would be the death of British music. It is a beacon for British music. It is a metaphor for the fact that British music still thrives. People come from all over the world to buy guitars here. They are collector guitars, they are specialist guitars that you wouldn't find on the internet. You need to pick a guitar up, look at it, play it, see which parts have been replaced, see if it's a fake, see how it sounds. That's what's special about being able to come here. You can't do that by ordering a guitar on the internet and sending it back. It wouldn't work. So we're here outside number 26 Denmark Street, and this was the former 12 Bar Club with the famous forge at the back, which was its stage, and that was where horses used to come and be shoed back from the 17th century onwards. And as you can see, they've done this mural to try and make it look nice, but it just disguises the fact that we have had now for a year an empty building, which was squatted, of course, for 3 weeks a year ago. In fact, a year ago, almost to the month. The 12 Bar Club moved to Holloway Road, and sadly, this week, the 12 Bar in Holloway Road closed. And it does prove the point that every city needs a heart. This is the heart of the music industry. If you cut out the heart, the arteries cease to function. And if you only have music venues in arterial roads, they will close. And the 12 Bar Club in Holloway Road has closed because we've already lost this beating heart.
What was down here, Henry?
Down here was the alleyway into Denmark Place, and as you can see, it's now locked off for building development. And rather sadly, the rear of Denmark Street has been compromised. They allowed Camden Council to collude with the developers to remove the rear of Denmark Street, so the shops have lost, in some cases, 2/3 of the depth of their shops. They have been offered upstairs and downstairs, but guess what? They lose 2/3 of their shop, but they have to pay for new space downstairs and new space upstairs. They're not given it for the same price that they had before. So their rents are already going up as a result of development. So this again is financially squeezing the balls of the shops that are in the street. And they're frightened to say anything because guess what? The landlord is the developer. Think about that. The landlord is the property developer. Is anybody going to stand up apart from somebody like myself who's dispassionate and not financially involved in the street? People who are financially involved in the street running business are frightened. Just here's a very interesting thing. Looks like a kind of messy board with chewing gum on it, but in fact this was the jobs board for all the musicians who came to the street. Down this corridor here was the former Enterprise Studios where people came to rehearse. You would have, actually at 5 p.m. most days, you would have a very unusual rush hour. You would have a rush of people who finished working in the West End with their guitars coming to Enterprise Studios to rehearse as bands. And this notice board would be for people who are looking for work. Drummers, guitarists, session musicians, people who want to join bands, bands looking for musicians, came here. This is how important Denmark Street was, because musicians came here to rehearse, to buy guitars, to record, to sign up with management, and that has been compromised through this development. They say they're saving the music. Well, they haven't saved this. It's gone.
Well, the shop itself, before we took over, was called Andy's. And I think the lease was signed in something like 80s. I can't remember exactly the year. But then we took over that lease from Andy.
Haven't you got a special lease that really protects you beyond all of the other shops?
Well, it's a Grade 2 listed building, so they can't touch it at the moment, as it is,
Yeah.
you know, unless it becomes unsafe. Which you might do in a few decades, I don't know.
And in amongst all this, have you had famous people still coming into the shop to,
Yeah.
in the light of all this? Who have you had recently that might be?
Noel Gallagher,
Samuel Jackson.
Samuel Jackson, they had a few, a session with Mary McCarthy.
Shall we have a look upstairs? Can we have a look upstairs? Shall we do that?
Let's go.
It's a great old building, isn't it?
It is. It was built in this at the end of 17th century, as far as 1670, if I'm not mistaken, something like that.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, and it's very strong. I remember someone came in once, an old lady. She was about 65, and she went upstairs, which is here, and then she went back downstairs again, and she said she used to live there in that little corridor. Her room was there. This used to be like a lounge, and downstairs used to be a cafe. And now
Yes,
she
famous
said
cafe in the 60s.
the year 1955.
Wow.
And she said everything else was the same around here. Even the tube was the same. Was not in the same place. And the church, the buildings, the buildings.
Julie's Cafe, I think it was called there.
I don't know. Yeah. Yeah.
How important is this street to guitar making specifically?
To guitar making
Or guitars, generally.
Guitars. I think it's the only street that's ever left in the world. I just went to the States and there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
I'm talking about. I've been to LA, Seattle, and then San Francisco. There's nothing like it. Even in New York, they don't have it anymore. 48th Street is gone. Just a few shops left.
That's very sad, isn't it?
Yeah, and I was actually surprised that they don't have as much choice as we do here.
Really?
Yeah, this street has got so much more choice than anything in the USA. I think people are music-wise making less music.
What I've said
For some reason, I don't know why.
I think it's because they need to identify areas. This needs to be a heritage zone.
Yeah.
If they made this a music heritage zone official, and then all the politicians got behind it and put some money back into it to get something out, this would be a huge boon for the property developer and also for tourism and for music industry in general.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know?
What do you think we would lose if Denmark Street, if the musical element of Denmark Street was diluted or?
You'd lose quite a big chunk of, what would be in the future, with a lot of artists and stuff like that. It's quite a strong link between this place and, the desire to play and to be part of some sort of a, musical community. It's like anything else. It's like Hollywood. You go to Hollywood. It's got this history and it's got these studios and all that stuff. Imagine if there was no Hollywood and it was like it's like a tiny Hollywood of music industry. We still got people coming in. They just want to buy stuff. Noel Gallagher buys pedals, tries pedals. And there's no other way to buy it.
You couldn't really buy it on the internet, could you?
So you have to try it.
You have to hear it and see. And
Well, the thing is, people like that just walk in. They don't know what they want. They just walk in because they, or any other people, because they want to see what they might find, and that's what I like about music shops.
How much is the street changing at the moment?
I have to be honest. It hasn't really changed in the past 15 years I was here, because it's. I know people get in and they say, "Oh, I've heard you're gonna bulldoze it over, and this street is not gonna be here anymore. It's like we can't then just take off the whole buildings. It's like, I think it was an overreaction of the press, and all the articles written about it were, exaggerated.
A few people have moved. There was Philippe, the guitar maker. He's gone.
Yeah, he's gone because this part. This is the only thing that's affected. Some of the things were affected. Number 21, the saxophone place is gone. It's going to be a passageway. Philippe is gone.
And there was the Dobro Center, the guitar maker above 21.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was there as well. Yeah.
So they're going to have a shopping mall at the back called the Now Building. So the thing is to keep Denmark Street, certainly keep the guitar shops here, which it looks like is safe at least till 2018 when Crossrail opens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it'll be safer after that as well, as long as the developers don't go crazy and don't put up the rent too much. Because this is like a indirect.
That's the crucial thing. Isn't
This
it?
is the indirect way to actually get rid of the strip. Yeah. When this is all finished, it's going to be, I think, amazing. I'm looking from a positive point of view, because people like say they only hold into the past. London is never going to stay the same. It has to move on, and that's the way I look at it. So it's moved on. They've done this Crossrail, maybe not to music shops' advantage, but at least it hasn't vanished at the moment. It's still here.
Well, that's a very good, positive way to summarise the situation, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.